Welcome back to another Unity Talks deep dive. Today we're tackling a feeling that I think every single person listening right now can identify with. It is that sensation of, well, just constant low-level static.
Oh, absolutely. The modern Workday noise.
Right. And I was going through the research for this session, specifically looking at the Microsoft Work Trend Index, and there was one number that made me physically wince.
I have a feeling I know exactly which one you mean. It's the 2-minute stat, isn't it?
It is the 2-minute rule. The data shows the average employee is interrupted every 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I mean, I can't even boil an egg in 2 minutes.
It's unbelievable when you hear it out loud.
And if that wasn't enough to, spike your blood pressure, 80% of the global workforce explicitly says they lack the time or the energy to actually do their job.
It's a staggering reality. We are in this strange paradox right now.
Yeah.
We have more tools than ever. We have the fastest computers in human history, but we feel less capable than ever. And that tension is actually the specific mission of this Unity Talks deep dive.
Exactly. We're not just going to admire the problem today. We are looking at the collision of two massive pieces of research. On one side, we've got the 2025 Work Trend Index from Microsoft, which outlines this really high-speed AI-driven future.
And on the other side, we have the design philosophy behind YUNITY Park in Bucharest, which is proposing a physical solution to that very digital problem.
And the connection between them is just fascinating because Microsoft is introducing us to the era of what they call the frontier firm, this world where AI gives us intelligence on tap.
Right, but they also admit that human performance is crashing because of burnout. So the core question becomes, if AI is the engine, what keeps the driver, the human, from falling asleep at the wheel?
That is the roadmap for today. We are going to unpack this concept of the agent boss, which, by the way, sounds like a spy movie title, but is actually our new job description.
It really does.
And then we'll explore how physical spaces, specifically UID Park, are shifting from being just containers for desks into these complex ecosystems designed to protect human biology.
We will look at things like the BioHabiNet and the network of options. These are specific design strategies that act as a counterweight to that digital overload you mentioned.
But let's start with the pain. Let's talk about this capacity gap. Because the report says 53% of leaders say productivity must increase, which, when you pair the fact that 80% of people are already burnt out, sounds less like a business strategy and more like a recipe for a total disaster.
It is the absolute definition of a bottleneck. The report calls it the capacity gap for a reason. Business demands are rising because technology allows for faster output. But human biology, that hasn't changed in 200,000 years. We still have the exact same cognitive limits.
Right.
You mentioned the interruptions earlier. The report found that people experience 275 interruptions a day.
275. I mean, that honestly makes me tired just saying the number out loud.
It creates a permanent state of fragmentation. Think about your own day, or anyone listening right now. Think about yours. The report notes that meetings after 8 p.m. are up 16% year over year. Chats outside of work hours are up 15%.
We're just always on.
Always on, always reacting. And this is happening right as we're being asked to step into this new, vastly more demanding role of the frontier firm.
Okay, let's dig into that term, the frontier firm. It sounds a bit sci-fi, but it is happening right now. What is the fundamental shift here? Is it just that companies are buying more software?
It is much deeper than that. Historically, technology was a tool. You picked up a hammer or you opened a spreadsheet, you did the work on the tool. But the frontier firm is defined by having intelligence on tap. AI isn't just a tool anymore. It is becoming a digital colleague.
So we aren't just typing into a box, we're
Working with the box, yes. And that fundamentally shifts the human role. We stop being the ones doing the road drudgery, the data entry, the basic scheduling, and we become what the report calls the agent boss.
The agent boss. I do love the title, but I imagine it comes with a massive catch. It's not just putting your feet up on the desk while the robot writes your emails.
Far from it. The catch is the cognitive load. As an agent boss, you are orchestrating multiple AI agents. You are applying judgment, creativity, empathy, strategic thinking. You have to correct the AI, guide it, fact-check it. That requires incredibly high-level executive function.
I see where you're going with this, because if I'm just stuffing envelopes or pasting numbers into a spreadsheet, I can do that while I'm exhausted. I can basically do that on autopilot. But if I'm orchestrating a team of AI agents to completely restructure a global supply chain, I need to be sharp.
Exactly. If the machine handles the speed and the data sorting, the only value the human brings to the table is clarity of thought. And you cannot have clarity of thought if you are interrupted every 2 minutes. To be a good agent boss, you cannot be fried. You need a space that actively restores you.
And that is the perfect pivot to the physical solution. Because I think for a long time, the corporate strategy for focus was basically just try harder, or maybe buy some noise-canceling headphones.
Right. Here's a subscription to a meditation app. Good luck out there.
Exactly. But we are seeing a massive shift toward the environment itself doing the heavy lifting. Enter YUNITY Park. This is a 4-hectare campus in Bucharest, developed by Genesis Property. And looking at the design documentation, they didn't just build nice office blocks, they basically built a machine for focus.
That is a great way to describe it. In their materials, it's described as a human-centered network of options. Which is a bit of a mouthful, sure, but the philosophy is incredibly simple. In this new era, you don't just work at a desk. You work across an entire ecosystem.
No, it's a multi-tenant campus, meaning lots of different companies share the space, but it's designed with what they call headquarters-level intentionality. Can you unpack that? Because usually multi-tenant just means a generic gray building by the highway where you rent the 3rd floor.
Exactly. Usually, only the tech giants, the Googles, the Apples of the world can afford to build a sprawling campus that has private forests and amphitheaters. A 50-person startup simply can't build that. But YUNITY Park flips that entire model. It offers that premium HQ experience to smaller firms, these agile frontier firms, by sharing the massive infrastructure.
So it democratizes the really good stuff.
It completely levels the playing field. And the primary perk isn't just having nicer furniture in the lobby, it is the protection of human performance. To break that cycle of 2 minutes between interruptions, humans need the ability to physically step away and completely reset.
Let's talk about the sheer scale of this reset capability, because we aren't talking about putting a potted plant in the corner or a succulent on the reception desk.
No, not at all. We're talking about an urban forest. 1,000 square meters of actual forest, sitting within a total of 7,500 square meters of greenery.
And I saw the stat on the walkways, 1,900 meters. That is nearly 2 kilometers of walking paths just inside the campus itself.
Think about the physiology of that for a second. When you are stuck on a highly complex problem, maybe you're an agent boss trying to figure out why your AI agent is hallucinating financial data and you are incredibly frustrated. What is the single best thing you can do for your brain in that moment?
Walk away. Literally just stand up and walk away.
Walk away, move your body, look at a fractal pattern in a tree leaf. There's a psychological concept called attention restoration theory. It basically says that harsh urban environments, screens, traffic, sharp geometric lines actively drain our directed attention. But nature restores it. It provides effortless attention.
No, that makes total sense.
Right. YUNITY Park is designed to make that restoration friction-free. You don't have to leave the business complex to go find nature. The nature is the connective tissue of the complex itself.
I want to dig much deeper into this nature aspect because the documentation uses a term that I found really intriguing, BioHabiNet. It sounds like something straight out of a biology textbook, but the logic behind it is super practical.
It really is. It's a portmanteau that explains their entire landscaping strategy. BioHabiNet.
Okay, let's break that down, starting with bio.
Bio stands for the biological system. They planted over 200 mature trees and 4,000 shrubs. But the point isn't just that green looks pretty. The point is pure function. These trees provide real, tangible shade. They cool the pedestrian routes down. It's about creating a microclimate that makes being outside actually comfortable, even in the middle of a hot Bucharest summer.
So it is nature acting as infrastructure. It's passive air conditioning.
In a very real way, yes. Then you have the heavy part, short for habitat.
This is the part that actually surprised me. Insect hotels.
Yes, insect hotels and bird houses. Now, a cynical CFO might look at that line item and say, why on earth are we paying for housing for bugs?
I would probably be the one asking that question, honestly.
Most people would. But it signals that this isn't just decorative landscaping. It is a living ecosystem. Corporate landscaping is often completely sterile. It's maintained with heavy chemicals just to look perfect for a photo. A habitat actually supports life. By encouraging native pollinators and birds, you create a self-sustaining system that requires fewer harsh chemicals and stays healthier year-round. It's built for resilience.
It's funny, the idea of having insect hotels at a sleek business campus might seem odd to some people, but it actually makes the place feel alive. It's not a plastic sealed-off environment.
That is exactly the psychological benefit, and it connects perfectly to the net part of BioHabiNet. Net stands for network. The greenery isn't just a pretty barrier that you look at through a pane of glass. It is a connected network that you physically move through. You are never leaving the office to go to the park. You're just moving to a different node in the work network.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me. The seasonality. The sources mention that because they specifically use deciduous trees and flowering shrubs, the park changes color and structure throughout the entire year. Why is that specific detail so vital for a modern work environment?
Think about the digital world you inhabit every day. What season is it in your email inbox right now?
It's always just blue and white. It's always that.
Exactly. Digital work is totally flat. It isn't eternal now. My screen looks exactly the same in July as it does in deep December. That lack of temporal markers can be incredibly disorienting and cognitively draining. It actively contributes to that Groundhog Day feeling of burnout.
That is so true. You completely lose track of time when you're just staring at pixels all day.
But if I look out the window or go for a walking meeting and the leaves are turning gold or the spring flowers are suddenly blooming, that provides a visual anchor. It reminds my brain that time is passing, that there is a natural biological rhythm to the real world. In the agent boss era, where we are managing digital data flows that literally never stop, we desperately need that sensory contrast. We need to see change, texture, life. The seasonality of the BioHabiNet breaks that digital trance.
Okay, so I've got the nature part down. We are recharged. We are looking at fractals. Our directed attention is restored. But we still have to actually, do the work. We can't just wander through the urban forest all day long. Well, we could, but we probably wouldn't get paid for very long. How does Unity Park handle the actual execution of work?
This is where their concept of work options really shines. If the Microsoft report is telling us we need to be thought partners with AI, we have to seriously ask ourselves, where do we actually do our best thinking? It is almost never sitting in a gray cubicle under buzzing fluorescent lights.
For me, it's usually in the shower or walking the dog or maybe sitting on a park bench. It is never at my actual desk.
Exactly. So Unity Park formalized that reality. They created a network of options for where you can physically be productive. They didn't just put some wooden benches outside and call it a day. They installed 22 specific benches that have built-in power outlets.
See, that is the exact detail that matters. Because usually outdoor work just means I'll work outside for 45 minutes until my laptop battery dies and I can't see my screen anyway because of the sun glare.
Precisely. They actually solved the infrastructure problem of working outside. They have these illuminated smart poles that provide lighting and campus-wide Wi-Fi, but they also contain 100 additional power outlets distributed across the entire campus.
100 power outlets literally built into the light poles.
Yeah.
That is wild. So you really can just grab your laptop, walk 500 meters away from your office building, sit under a mature tree, plug in, and that is your designated office for the next 2 hours.
Yes, seamlessly. And consider the Unity Amphitheater as well. It is a massive outdoor amphitheater with a capacity for hundreds of people. During the workday, it's not just a concert venue. It acts as a highly flexible space for outdoor workshops, for team moments, for those quick all-hands meetings where you just want everyone to get some fresh air.
It really is democratizing that exclusive big tech campus vibe. I was thinking about this while prepping. If I'm running a small startup, a true frontier firm of maybe 10 people, I cannot afford to build a private amphitheater. I certainly can't afford a dedicated IT team to wire up a forest with high-speed Wi-Fi.
And that is the brilliance of the multi-tenant model. You might be a scrappy 10-person startup using AI to disrupt the massive industry, exactly like the Microsoft report predicts. By simply leasing space here, you instantly gain access to physical infrastructure that usually only a Fortune 500 company could dream of building. You get campus-wide Wi-Fi, the security, the nature of the amphitheater. It allows small, highly agile teams to have a heavyweight employee experience.
Okay, so we've covered the nature and we've covered the outdoor work infrastructure, but the Microsoft report also flagged a massive, entirely different risk with this AI transition, and that is isolation.
This is a critical point. The report clearly states that human connection is a unique capability that machines simply do not have. But it also notes that as we rely more and more on AI agents to do our tasks, there is a very real risk that we just stop talking to each other. Think about it. If my AI assistant flawlessly answers all my questions, why should I ever walk over to your desk?
Right. If I have a digital colleague who is always available and knows everything, I might start completely ignoring my actual human colleagues. And that sounds like a recipe for a very lonely and frankly a very uncreative workplace.
Which is incredibly dangerous for company culture and for long-term innovation. Innovation almost always comes from serendipity, from bumping into someone at the coffee machine and having a totally random, unplanned conversation that sparks a new idea. AI is terrible at serendipity. AI is built for prediction.
So how does a physical space solve that problem? You can't just force people to talk to each other against their will.
No, you can't force them, but you can intentionally design for social friction. Unity Park addresses this directly with what they call Level 3. It is essentially a massive shared community hub. Think of it as the campus living room.
A living room for work. I really like that framing. What is actually in it?
It's designed for genuine interaction that isn't just another calendar meeting. They have dedicated spaces for board games, for physical crafting, for yoga classes. They even explicitly emphasize low-stakes competition, like table sports.
Low-stakes competition is honestly the best way to bond with coworkers. You play a quick game of ping pong, you laugh, you naturally let your guard down. You aren't agent, boss, and subordinate in that moment. You're just two people playing a game.
Exactly. And critically, this space is shared. It is not locked away inside one specific company's private office. It is a neutral ground where people from totally different companies, different industries can naturally collide. That is exactly where you get those aha moments that an AI can never replicate. You might have a fintech developer casually talking to an advertising creative director just because they're both grabbing a coffee in the community hub.
It seems like the overarching goal here is to remove the friction from absolutely everything except social interaction.
That is a brilliant insight. They ruthlessly remove friction from basic daily needs. Just look at the bike parking infrastructure. They don't just have racks, they have full showers and changing rooms.
Which is huge. If you actually want people to bike to work, which we know is great for their health and the planet, you cannot just bolt a metal rack into the concrete out in the rain and expect it to work.
Precisely. If I bike to work but I can't shower when I get there, I'm going to be sweaty and miserable in my 10 a.m. meeting. So biking just becomes a nice theory, not a viable reality.
Yeah.
By providing the showers, the clean changing rooms, the highly secure parking, they make the healthy choice the easy choice.
And it's the exact same logic with the EV charging stations and the cafeterias. It's a whole daily life layer that is just completely taken care of for you.
It all brings us right back to the core agent boss concept. If you are asking a human being to manage incredibly high-level complex AI systems all day, you have to actively remove the low-level stressors from their life. You cannot expect someone to be strategically brilliant if they are silently stressed about where to charge their electric car, or where to grab a healthy lunch, or if they haven't physically moved their body in 8 hours.
It's entirely about the cognitive budget. If I am spending 20% of my daily cognitive budget just worrying about my commute or my lunch logistics, I am not spending that energy on the high-level strategic work.
Exactly. The entire campus ecosystem is designed from the ground up to preserve your cognitive budget for the things that actually matter.
So let's try to synthesize all of this. We have looked at this high-tech future, the AI, the frontier firm, and we've paired it with this high-nature, highly intentional physical campus. How do these two massive concepts fit together in the big picture for you?
I think the ultimate synthesis is this. The Microsoft report predicts a very near future where intelligence is on tap. It is completely abundant, it is cheap, co-pilots and AI agents are going to be everywhere. But human energy, human focus and resilience, that is rapidly becoming scarce.
That is the true resource constraint of the 2020s.
It really is. In the frontier firm, the limiting factor to growth isn't data storage or processing power anymore. It is the biological capacity of the human operator. Unity Park effectively acts as the physical battery charger for that scarce human energy.
I love that analogy. The AI is the powerful engine, but the physical campus is the battery charger.
Precisely. The future of work isn't just about the software subscriptions you buy. It's not just about installing Copilot on everyone's machine. It is fundamentally about where that work happens. To succeed as a frontier firm, you need a frontier campus that prioritizes the deep biological needs of the human worker.
It really feels like for the last decade, we have been trying to run 21st century software on hardware, meaning our physical bodies, that we are still treating like it's stuck in a 1990s cubicle form.
That is exactly it. And as Microsoft data clearly shows with those massive burnout numbers, if you don't actively optimize the human side of the equation, the productivity gains from AI will just hit a brick wall. You can have the absolute best AI model in the world, but if the human operator is too burnt out and exhausted to use it effectively, it is completely worthless.
That is such a powerful takeaway. We spend so much time and money optimizing our digital tech stack and nowhere near enough time optimizing our physical stack.
It is definitely time to balance that equation.
So here's a final thought for you listening right now. As you prepare to become an agent boss, and according to the data, that reality is coming for all of us, whether we feel ready for it or not. Ask yourself a very simple question. Is your current physical environment designed to drain your battery, or is it designed to recharge it? What if the ultimate luxury in our hyper-fast AI future isn't a faster computer chip, but a literal breath of fresh air? Because in the age of infinite artificial intelligence, your human energy is your most competitive asset.
That is exactly the right question to be asking right now.
Thank you so much for joining us on this Unity Talks deep dive. It has been a truly fascinating look at the future of where and exactly how we work. We will catch you in the next one.
Goodbye.